Hey there, welcome back to Tennille Talks. This is a reading about passion. When we're talking about passion, we're talking about when we have that strong feeling of excitement for doing something, okay? Now, I have the divine masculine energy in this reading, okay? Divine masculine energy is the embodiment of logic, direct action. Divine masculines protect, they guard, they build, they're strong, right? And so that is the energy we're talking about. But now we're going to put that with passion. Now, for just a moment, the divine masculine could have been in a situation where they were presented with a feeling of passion. Something came over them. Now, in this reading, the first message is about what should have been avoided. So if the divine masculine is standing in a situation right now where they have the ability to follow their passion, or in the past they were presented with an opportunity to follow their passion. We're talking about sexuality. We're talking about intimacy. Okay? Now, the direction that should have been avoided was to not give in to the sensation, right? When we're talking about following that feeling, we allow our body to move us. Our flesh takes control. We become wrapped up in our feelings, right? And the passion drives us, right? And so if you are a vehicle and if somebody looks and sees who's driving your car, it would be an entity, a spirit, an emotion, a vibration, a frequency of passion. It is so strong that it has taken over you. In this message, that feeling should be avoided or should have been avoided in this specific situation, right? Now, the correct direction would have been to recognize that what you felt passionate about wasn't actually your type. It wasn't actually a full representation of what it is that you desire, of what it is that matches your energy and your frequency. Now, for just a moment, I want to talk about a chicken, the body of a chicken. Let's say in this divine masculine energy, you know, we've got a rooster, and a rooster prefers the hens that have the really big breasts, okay? And so this rooster is passionate about hens with breasts. And so whenever a hen walks by and they've got breasts, this rooster just loses control of its flesh and it goes after the hen, and it really can't think, it can't stop itself. Why? Because passion is driving its vehicle, right? Now, at some point, the rooster is like, let me think about this. Now, I want you to think about the body and the purpose of the body parts of chickens. They have flexible toes so that they can dig for food and defend themselves, right? When a chicken uses their beak, they can pick up food, tear grass, and open seeds. Their tail allows them to balance, and their wattle helps them to regulate their body temperature. So if you've got this masculine who's following their passion and they're only thinking about breasts, well, if they could only look at the entire hen and recognize that there are other body parts, there are other aspects, there are other characteristics and traits that could be beneficial, right? And so there's a point in time where we have somebody that was leading their sexual life, their sexuality in masculine energy, but they were only chasing the things that they felt passionate about. But passion comes and goes. It's a feeling that tends to fleet. It's not something that you can sustain continuously without ceasing or breaking, right? So one of the reasons why this masculine should have not have pursued their passion in this situation is because the hen that they were going after was not their type, or they were not the type of rooster that the hen really would have preferred anyway, right? And so when somebody isn't your type, it's really not something that we should take personally, but we absolutely can take it personally in the event that we struggle with rejection or abandonment, right? But there are some situations where people are just not that into us. Doesn't mean that anything is wrong with us. Nothing's wrong with you. Nothing's wrong with them, right? But there are different types. There are different type of people that just draw you in, that captivate you. But in this situation, this was almost like a trap, right? This rooster loves breasts, and breasts came by and they followed it. But if this was a spiritual lesson, what should have been avoided was those breasts. Because if you look at the entire chicken, you should have checked out those flexible toes. You should have checked out that beak and make sure it could pick up food and tear grass and open seeds. You didn't check out whether or not their tail could balance themselves, right? Their waddle. Can they regulate their body temperature? Can they regulate their mood? Is this the type of hen that you can take to different environments, right? And they know how to behave, right? They know when to cluck. They know when to sit, right? And so when you're picking a partner, when you're following your passion, if you're just picking just a body part or just one aspect, definitely one that is just fleshly or carnal, well, then you're missing the full experience. And you're really cheating yourself, right? And so this is a test of some sort that someone in divine masculine energy is needing to understand when we're talking about their sexuality, what turns them on, the type of hens that they are attracted to and why they are attracted to them, right? The divine masculine energy followed their passion, and they should have released whoever it was, this individual was, that they picked up passionately, right? The message here was, without delay, cut this cord and stand on your truth. If somebody is not your type because they are unhealthy, right? And this doesn't always have to be people. In the event that you're single and you haven't had to deal with another person in an intimate or romantic way, this message still translates to anything toxic. This is a toxic place, a toxic energy, a toxic belief, or a toxic habit, right? And so if you become passionate, sometimes you become passionate to think that you're that you're not able or you're not capable. You know, sometimes we can become addicted to negative feelings. We can become addicted to feeling like we are a victim and unable to do certain things or conquer certain things, right? And so we can get a rush of adrenaline when something goes wrong because it gets us in this space. But the idea is like, yes, you're activated. Yes, you're passionate. Yes, you're responding, but that energy really isn't conducive for you to do anything. It's not the type of energy that you can use to rise. It's not the type of relationship, the type of place, the type of job, thought, or belief. It's not the habit that can take you to where you truly want to go, right? And so when you only focus on one piece of you, you are really cutting it. Let's say, listen, you need to operate at 100% to truly be conscious and awake, to be emotionally intelligent. But if all you can think about is breasts, well, you're only moving at 30%. You're a rooster with a battery life of 30%. And wherever you go, you can only get hens with battery lives at 30% or below. Why? Because vibrationally, y'all are only worried about breasts. You're not worried or thinking about the full body, the full characteristics, right? Can this hen dig for food? Are they willing to work? Can they cook, right? Can they defend themselves? Do they know how to put up boundaries emotionally? Is this the type of hen that can't cut off the lingering exes, or they can't separate their mother or their sister or their auntie from our relationships, right? When we're talking about their beak, do they know how to pick up food? Can they clean? Can they cook? Can they go out and get food? Can they go out and get money? Are they willing to work? When we're talking about tear grass, sometimes you got to break down things, right? Can they get in and get dirty? Will they clean, right? Are they willing, and so the type of masculine that you are determines the type of hen in the way you assess and evaluate. We're talking about physical traits of a hen, but we really are talking about the way our partner or the commitment that we've made to a place or an energy. We're talking about the way it emotionally shows up in us and in itself, right? The way it thinks, the way it speaks. And so sometimes we are hesitant to cut people off because we are afraid of being rejected. If I tell you how I really feel about you, you're going to go off. If I tell you how I really feel about you, you'll judge me because you're not going to like what I say. And so I need to maintain my self-image. And so even though you're not my type, I like your breasts. And so I'm just going to follow what I was passionate about. But y'all know that can't be sustained. And so if this was a test that somebody in their masculine sexual energy was not able to pass, right? And so those wounds of rejection and abandonment can sometimes get you to run towards people and things for really trivial reasons, but it's really a wound. It's something deeper in you that you are not focusing on, right? And so when you feel passion, sometimes it just feels good to feel good, right? And so if that hen with them breasts make you feel good, I just want to feel good. So I'm just going to go chicken. I'm just going to go to that hen. It's temporary, right? But because I'm carrying around these wounds and these beliefs about myself, I got to settle for 30% because I'm not willing to do 70% of the work, right? To become a bigger, better me in order to attract a bigger, better hen. So the point of this experience for this divine masculine energy is literally what turns you on, right? That's the energy of being, of what gets you hot and bothered, right? Focus on the things that get you excited. And so this is a divine masculine who's ready to figure out, what is it that I like, right? First, assessing their own body. How balanced am I? How well do I use my tail? My waddle. Can I regulate my body temperature? That's your emotional intelligence, right? Do I have the ability to control my anger, to control my rage? Can I communicate? Can I be empathetic? Right? Let me think of my beak. If I'm not willing to cook or able to cook, do I contribute? Do I grocery shop? Right? Tearing grass. Am I willing to prep the food even if I don't cook it? Am I willing to put it away? Am I willing to clean the dishes? Open the seeds. We use beaks to open the seeds, right? Am I willing to set the table? Am I willing to put right? And so the way that we look at our body and the way we use our body or don't use our body is a reflection of how we use the bodies of others, of how we perceive and believe truths or falsities about the bodies of others. And so intimacy isn't about body count, right? It's not about how many people. It's more than physical, right? It's close, it's familiar, it's affectionate. Somebody should be say those flexible toes that your hen has. So how do those flexible toes work? And if you are in an intimate connection, you should be able to tell them exactly how they dig for food, exactly how they use their toes to defend themselves. Oh, your hen has a beautiful beak, right? And the divine masculine, I was like, yeah. Let me tell you, my hen be picking up food, they be tearing grass, they be opening seeds, right? Man, your hen sure is balanced, right? Y'all were at a sports event, y'all were in church, y'all were at a barbecue, y'all went to a rally, you went to an event, you went to a sewing class. Seems like y'all can do a little bit of you can do a little bit of everything together, right? And that's because my hen knows how to use her tail. In that waddle, you can take your hen in any environment, and the hen knows when to cluck and when not to cluck, how to cluck and how not to cluck, depending on the environment, because they have the ability to regulate themselves, right? And so this is a masculine who's really ready to be turned on by more than just the breast. But in order to do that, you've got to investigate yourself. You've got to figure out, well, what else is important to you? What else is sexy to you? What would you like to see and experience every day if you had to be with a hen again and again, no breaks, no pauses, right? And so this is a self-assessment. This divine masculine energy needs to remain teachable. But the most beautiful lesson we all came to learn is the lesson of self. And this is about self and how it relates to sexuality. And so this masculine energy is right now getting more information, looking for a teacher, right? Who am I? What am I? So this could be like sex therapy, sex education. This could be somebody that has struggled with some type of sex addiction, because the way that they were rooted into their sexual energy, it was really based on the wounds that they were carrying. And so when they looked at a hen, they could only look at a hen for just what gave them a strong feeling in that moment. But they didn't think about the totality of what the experience of that hen would have been. Is that hen able to stand next to me and not cause me to fall? Is this the type of hen that will tilt my crown in order to feel like theirs is straight? Right? And so where does this, if this divine masculine can sit in this space and really understand their sexuality, that it's not about who you have sex with. It's not about how often you have sex with them, right? Sometimes maybe people think it's about quantity and not quality, right? And so if you've been in a relationship with this type of energy and you knew better, right? This person genuinely may not have known better. They intimately were not even connected with themselves. And so they could not intimately connect or attach to another. And so it may have seemed that they were very carnal or superficial, right? Or they had the ability to have empty sex without emotion, right? I had this conversation with myself. But I was talking to somebody who had separated from their spouse. Their marriage had gone through infidelity, disrespect, physical abuse, emotional, verbal, together they had really destroyed it. And so they weren't yet divorced. And they had already begun to have sex with other people. And so I said, well, when was the last time you all were intimate with each other? And they said about 7 months ago, but it was off of some I hate you type shit, right? Y'all, just think about that for a moment. Imagine, right? Now let's think about intimacy. It's close, it's familiar, it's affectionate, it's loving, it's personal, okay? It's personal. And so in this situation, what I'm saying is that sometimes people have a tendency when they move out of their woundedness to use something so sacred in a way that can be so, I don't know. You'll pick up those pieces and you'll tell me how you feel about that. But just think about how sacred sex is. And so if you are using your proximity to another person to act out your rage, but you're doing it with a sacred act, think about how distorted and how unrooted you are, right? That's really a reflection of you, not them. And so sometimes people have a tendency to be in that space, not even recognizing the beauty and the power of the act. Y'all, and in many ways, that can become sex magic, right? You're engaging in an act with somebody, and their thoughts and their energy, you're transferring energy, but they are feeling hate and disdain, right? They are indifferent. And so what are you creating in that moment? What are you casting? You know? And so this could have been a masculine energy who didn't even know that listen, if you are offended or hurt by something somebody has done, there is a way to communicate that. There is a way to express it. It is okay to feel. It is okay to say and sense, but sometimes when people don't recognize that they have words, or they don't trust the person, or they're not vulnerable, right? They'll use whatever closeness or proximity or whatever access they have to you to really say whatever it is that they need to say. But in the event that they have used sex to dominate, or to really lead their life or their relationships and their connections to self and others, then even in sexual acts, people can use it as a way to show their rage and their hate and their anger. And so that takes a lot of work to work through, but it's not impossible, right? But it takes a lot of things to work through. Absolutely. Because passion is passion. That is a strong feeling, right? And when we are engaging in that act, we are using a strong feeling, for good or for bad, to communicate something to whatever it is that we are with. Whew. Okay, y'all. So sexuality, it's about how you feel about sex, what you think about sex. It's about what you're attracted to, the behaviors that others can show you that pull you in, right? And so it's physical, it's emotional, and it's sexual. It's the things that physically pull you in, emotionally pull you in, sexually pull you in, and psychologically pull you in. You need to have the breast, the leg, the wing, and the thigh to really consider, is this a relationship that turns me on? You got to look at all parts of the chicken, right? And so this is somebody who was only going after the breast, and they weren't even worried about, does this chicken have legs to walk? Are their thighs strong enough to hold us when we go through things, right? Seriously. Wings. I don't know. Can they balance? Can they move? Can they move quick? Can they move fast? Right? Or do I have to carry them? Right? Is this somebody where I have to support all of their weight? Or can they fly? That is the point of the situation. This masculine is sitting in this space right now, attempting to answer these questions first about self, right? Because this is somebody that I think became tired of being sick and tired. Maybe this is somebody where sex was not a problem, right? They could find many people to have sex with, right? Many people, or the same person, many different ways, or a lot. But I think this was really about quantity. But somebody had to get sick and tired. They had to exhaust themselves to get to the point of like, man, you're not even my type. Like, for real. Like, I don't even know why I'm doing this anymore, right? But most times we are hanging on to things out of fear. And so the fear of self-image, rejection, right? Sometimes people will have sex with you, but they'll stay emotionally distant so that they don't even have to feel the feelings we're talking about. They don't even have to answer the questions that we're talking about. They just won't even get to the space to be close enough to have a true thought, right? It is totally physical because they don't want to go there. They don't want to go there in themselves, right? And so they will find people who don't want to go there. They will find people who are operating at 30%. Oh, well, you only care about my breasts. You only care about my beak. Well, I only care about your waddle. I only care about your tail, right? Then we just start picking chickens. We start picking partners, picking jobs just for specific things. And then we just become so exhausted with and sick and tired of not being fulfilled. And so where does this lead you? Everything truly happens for your good, right? And so this masculine is recognizing that intimacy is good for you. No, sometimes being close, sitting next to somebody, kissing somebody, holding their hands, somebody texting you and calling you, sometimes that can make people so uncomfortable. People can get sick and tired of closeness. Honestly, some people just don't like it, but they don't ever discover why they don't like it. right? Sometimes they don't like it because they have emotionally created a distance. Why have they distanced themselves from intimacy? Well, at some point in time, they trusted someone. They were vulnerable to someone, right? They attempted to be intimate, close, and personal, affectionate, and loving with somebody that couldn't return. So maybe they were moving at 80% at one point in their life, but they picked up somebody who was working at 45%. And that forever wounded them. It changed them. And so they're like, you know what? Let me go ahead and change my battery. Because if people are moving out here at 45%, what good is it for me to be at 80? They're just gonna, they will suck my battery life dry. They'll deplete me. I'm gonna have to be on the charger all the damn time. I'm never gonna be able to live. I'm never gonna be able to be free because I'm always gonna have to be tied down on the charger trying to power up from the people that have sucked out of me. So you know what? I'm gonna just go ahead and make sure that I'm always on top, that I'm never exhausted, that I'm never depleted. I'll make sure I have my mind. I'm going to make sure I have my money. I'm going to make sure I have my freedom. I'm going to make sure I can move the way I want to move. And listen, I don't really blame people. I really don't blame people for coming to that place in how they operate in terms of relationships and intimacy and connections. None of that is bad. Right? But it is the energy that got you to make those choices, right? Because intimacy is good for you. It's just not good for you when you're moving at 80% with somebody who's at 45. It is never going to be good for you in that situation. And so if this divine masculine can heal from that 80-45 moment and recognize that that was just a moment in time, that was not an indication or a representation of what all the other hens out here have the ability to offer you, right? So if you can heal, if you can move on, right? And if you can open up that battery pack, well, then you can see that some people are going to come to you at 90 and you may come up short, right? But you got to do the work. You got to ask the questions, right? You got to look at the toes, the beak, the tail, and the waddle, not just the breasts. Are you willing to do that? Can you be intimate with yourself and be patient and really discover a person? Can you take time, right? And so this divine masculine had to get to a space where he recognized that he was entertaining an energy. And again, if this is somebody who's been single, this could have been a job, a lifestyle, a belief, but they were entertaining something which could have been singleness, thinking that intimacy was bad for them, right? Intimacy requires you to be soft. It requires you to open your heart. And that is so hard to do if you have been neglected, abandoned, abused, right? If somebody took advantage of you. Somebody comes to you many times, this is the lesson. They will come to, the Most High will allow a 40% to come to an 80. Why? Why will that be allowed? Right? Why? Because do you recognize your 80? Do you have the ability to say, we're not compatible? We're not compatible. You know what? Intimacy is good for me. You're just not good for me, right? Because I want something that's more than physical. Your breasts are beautiful, but guess what? Those breasts don't cook for me, right? I got in an accident recently and those breasts couldn't wash me, bathe me, pick up my prescriptions, help me put on my sweatpants, right? Those breasts couldn't help me use the bathroom. They couldn't get me to the car, those breasts couldn't do nothing for me. And so sometimes you got to get to a space in life where you are put in a vulnerable position that forces you to be vulnerable. It forces you to trust somebody because sometimes you just can't do it on your own. So there are certain situations that the Most High will allow a 40 to come to you because you need to determine whether or not this matches your 80. If you stay with a 40, prepare for them to take your 40 and then prepare for them to take the rest of that 40. Right? Because you didn't recognize your value. Now you got to go sit down on the charger. Now you got to get your money up. Now you got to get your mind right. Now you got to get your emotions right. Right? because you didn't recognize your value. You didn't sit with yourself. You didn't ask yourself the appropriate questions, right? This is about self-discovery. Ask those questions. Get online, right? And there are sex groups, there's sex therapy. If anybody has an unhealthy or a toxic relationship with sex, immediately you cannot correct it, right? Because it took years to get this way. And so you have to allow yourself time to kind of unravel those knots, cut those cords, get rid of those habits and those beliefs. But it's about patience. It's like, who am I? Why do I do this? What is it that I am following when I follow this urge, this passion, this sensation? Why does my body go this way? And why is my mind not in a place of strength where it can stop? Right? This has nothing to do with shame or regret. Many times sexually, if you were introduced to sexuality, your own body, if you were introduced to your own body by way of another person crossing a boundary, right? And you really didn't have time to unfold organically into yourself. Recognize that as life unfolds, when you're in relationships or when you are becoming intimate or practicing intimacy and how you just fall in love with your own life, that there will be some type of gray area where you got to work through and sort through. Right? All of that matters, whether you're conscious of it or not. Your subconscious remembers every moment. And every moment that you physically go through, it leaves a vibrational stain. And I don't want to say stain is a negative thing, but what I'm saying is it leaves a mark. It does something to you that has an impact. Right? And so if you are living out a sexual experience that you know to your core is not really you, subconsciously something may be in there that's just making this a comfortable space for you, even though it is not the best version of who you are when you are trying to live out love, live out passion, and live out pleasure. Right? Being able to get to the point where you can say, listen, I want somebody to love me. I want somebody to rub my head and rub my back and massage me. I want somebody to sit and watch TV with me, right? I want somebody to show an interest in the things that I am interested in. Not that they have to do what I do. Not that my partner literally needs to stand next to me, drop their life down in order to pick up my life. But no, I want you to carry your life while I carry my life. But I want us to do this side by side, right? I don't want you to push me. I don't want you to stick your foot out and trip me while I'm walking, right? But if you've been with people who have tripped you, who have shoved you, who have done everything they can do to make you drop your life or to make you uncomfortable while you attempt to walk in your life, then at some point you're like, forget it. I'm tired of people. I'm just going to pick the parts of people that I can handle. And hey, for some people, that's just breasts. That's just the tail. It's just the waddle. It's just the flexible toes or the beak. That's not good or bad. It's a reflection of the space that those people are in within their self. Right? And because they are living in such a limited space within themselves, when they act out sexuality, although it is something sacred and divine, they can only do it in a very limited way. Right? It is truly a reflection. And so this is a message about recognizing that it is okay to be incompatible. It is okay to say, hey, we don't have chemistry. We are too different. Right? Because when you can do that, it is better to make a mistake in the beginning than at the end, right? It would have been better to walk away during the dating period than it was to divorce. That is true for me, right? I recognized things, but I didn't honor them. Why? Because of what I was carrying. But I can tell you that if I can, I knew, like, there, you just always know, and you decide, is this something I can live with? Is this something I can carry? And when you choose to live or to gamble with things, right? And to say, hey, I'll carry this. I really don't want to carry this beak or these toes, but the tail, the waddle, the breast, everything, I guess the other makes up for it. In many ways, that's kind of a risk, you know? And so you walk that journey and you see where it leads you. But saying that you're incompatible allows you to cut losses in the beginning before the attachment. The attachment can be a child. The attachment can be bills and finances and shared expenses. The attachment can be marriage, right? The attachment can be all of the relationships that are built around a relationship. Because when y'all break up, now everybody else got to break up. And they don't know if they're breaking up with you or her. They haven't decided, right? And so attachment, there are levels to attachment. But if you are intimate with yourself, it is easier for you to recognize the incompatibility. You know what? This person really don't turn me on. I just like the way the breasts look. Like, I can be honest with myself and hopefully be honest with the other person. Sometimes being honest with the other person means that you have to be willing to get the response or the reaction. You have to be at peace with it. So if they reject you, if they judge you, if they gossip and slander and lie and talk about you, you got to be willing to carry that because you honored your truth. It wasn't personal. It was just me being true to me, right? I'm not willing to put me down to pick you up. The effects of being in something that you know you are incompatible in. It's feeling forever. It's dissatisfaction, but it's a dissatisfaction that's almost like never ending. That's hell. Unresolved conflicts, right? Never being able to get to the end of something. Never being able to find the resolution. Before you can get to the resolution of one problem, whoa, you've discovered a new problem. And it is just a cycle, right? This lowers our self-esteem over time. This is what triggers cheating. Not being able to be honest and intimate with yourself will put you in situations that you know are not fulfilling. When married, I had never been so single until I was married. Honestly, I was so single. Right? I was lonely. Then here comes the anxiety, the depression, the resentment, right? All because the intimacy was lacking with me. And then I'm contracting myself to things long term that really aren't my type. They're really not turning me on. They're not fully or fulfilling me because I only considered 40% of me when I considered you. And so now I'm growing and evolving and I'm ready to experience 70% and you're sitting here at 40 and I'm pissed off, right? Sometimes we just got to get sick of ourselves. We have to exhaust it. And so I'm seeing that this is happening for a divine masculine, but it was happening through sex because it seems like sex is how they were exploring their intimacy. They were following their passion. And at some point, this needs to be avoided and stopped because they need to learn something about self. And so the way this divine masculine will move, the way they will move next is, let's say if you cross paths with a divine masculine energy in terms of sexuality, somebody that prioritizes friendship is going to be somebody that recognizes, I need them flexible toes to work. I need that beak to work. I need that tail to work. And I need that waddle to work. And so I will be your friend until we can discover each other, until we can trust each other, until we can learn each other, right? Let's be an ally to one another. We can just support each other. Right? This can be a relationship where we're only trying to maintain peace and harmony. That's it. Right? And so when you meet somebody who wants to first build that connection, that is somebody that has come to the realization that you got to look at somebody in totality. You got to look at the whole hen. You got to look at the whole rooster. Right? Because I've already learned that when I ignore aspects of myself and aspects of others, it takes me to a place where it lowers my self-esteem because I feel like I cannot live in an experience or I cannot live in a life that really reflects me, right? It decreases my motivation to go out and live. I am in, 60% of me I will never be able to access as long as I am contracted to you, right? Now, there are certain situations where maybe you're 50 and they're 30, right? But they're 30 on a charger. They're on a charger. So they recognize that they're at 30%, but they're on a charger, which means they're healing, they're growing, they're working, right? They're attempting to take those steps to grow. They're consciously saying, I know I'm not there, but I'm getting there, right? You see me with my charger. Give me time. We're not talking about, you know what I mean? Those connections work. Those connections can still work. And so you don't have to come in at the same percentage, but you better come in with a charger, both of you, right? Because life is going to be pulling on that battery and the relationship is going to be pulling on that battery. And so it's better to just build with a friendship, build the trust, improve the communication, improve the understanding, right? Enjoy being around each other, right? If I'm at 70 and you're at 30, I need to be able to tolerate you. And if we've built a friendship and if we really trust each other, then I can offer you grace. I can be patient with you, right? I can be more forgiving with you because we've built this rapport. We've put time in. This is time served. Every day we woke up, we chose each other again and again and again, unconditionally chose each other, right? Divine Masculine is in this space of really recognizing that these are the conversations with self that need to be had before you get to the point of following the passion because you saw the breasts or the beak or the tail, the toes or the waddle. I love y'all. We haven't really had a sensual message like this. Yes, thank you for being here and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.